Stranded woman's heartwarming engine fix reveals incredible life-changing surprise the next day. Sarah's heart raced as she stared at her sputtering sedan, the wailing of her children echoing from the school just blocks away. Not now, she breathed, her palms clammy against the worn steering wheel. The thought of losing her job sent waves of dread crashing over her. A single mother of two, Sarah fought every day to keep food on the table, juggling shifts at the diner, and a cleaning job after hours. This was supposed to be her lucky day, an easy drive to pick them up and hug away the frustrations of the world. But instead, there she was, stranded, vulnerable in the midday sun. Tears pricked her eyes as the engine coughed its last sputter. What would she tell her kids? They counted on her. The weight of economic instability pressed down harder than ever, and for a fleeting moment, hope flickered like a candle in a storm. Just as despair threatened to engulf her, a familiar figure appeared across the road. "Hey, Sarah." Jack, her retired veteran neighbor, ambled over. His kind eyes crinkled with concern. "What is going on?" She thought of trying to brush it off, but vulnerability won. "My car won't start," she admitted, her voice trembling. Jack nodded, understanding far beyond words. "Let us see what we can do." As they knelt beside the rusty hunk of metal, they shared stories. Jack spoke about the sacrifices of his youth, the weight of expectations, and the scars that never quite healed. Sarah revealed her fears, her constant struggle to make ends meet, while inspiring her kids to reach for the stars. Through laughs and camaraderie, they forged a connection, lightening their burdens even if only for a moment. There was beauty in their shared hardships, an unspoken bond forged by resilience. With each twist of the wrench, hope resurfaced, bubbling warm and steady. And then, like magic, the engine roared back to life. Relief flooded through her. Still, the dawn of the next day brought an unexpected twist that sent her heart plunging once more. In the mailbox, a letter lay waiting, a local charity organization's emblem emblazoned on the front. With trembling hands, she tore it open, eyes scanning the words. Her children had been awarded a scholarship based on her perseverance. Excitement and doubt swirled within her. Was this truly something she earned? Would her children be ready for this opportunity? As joy intermingled with anxiety, Sarah struggled with self-doubt and the weight of societal expectations. What if the community thought her struggles were pitiful, rather than inspiring? Would they judge her, or offer support? Standing tall on the threshold of this life-altering moment, Sarah listened to her kids' laughter drifting in from the backyard. A shimmering sense of possibility danced at the edge of her consciousness. Could she embrace this gift, redefine her family as destiny, and banish the shadows of doubt that loomed large? Or would she let fear chain her to the past, holding her back from the future that was calling? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow on her home, Sarah stood at a crossroads. This scholarship could be the key to a life she'd dared only to dream about. But the path was steep. Would she summon the courage to seize this chance? Or would she let the fears of inadequacy keep her from claiming the future that awaited her family? The morning sun rose with a brightness that almost stung Sarah's eyes. She had barely slept, the weight of the scholarship letter still pressing on her mind. Breakfast was a flurry of activity as her kids Annie and Ethan bounded in, their usual energy igniting the kitchen. Their laughter was contagious, a sweet melody that tugged at Sarah's heart. But as she flipped pancakes, Her thoughts were far away, lost in a fog of uncertainty. "Mom, can we go to the park after school?" Annie asked, her big brown eyes sparkling with excitement. Ethan nodded vigorously, crumbs flying. It was a simple request, yet Sarah felt the heaviness of her responsibilities pressing down hard. "Of course, sweetie," she said, forcing a smile. But inside, a storm of doubt raged. Once they were off to school, Sarah stood in the quiet of the house, clutching the scholarship letter in her hands. She had to make a decision. Was she ready to embrace this gift and the change it could bring? Taking a deep breath, she placed the letter on the counter, her stomach twisting with fear. As she left for her shift at the diner, the world outside seemed brighter, the sky an endless blue. Customers filed in for their morning coffee, each familiar face punctuating her day with stories and small exchanges. But Sarah's mind drifted. Conversations blurred into the background as she replayed her children's laughter, their joy echoing in her heart. Then, something unexpected happened. A regular customer, Mrs. Thompson, a kind elderly woman with a warm smile, called out to her, "Sarah, dear, I'm so proud of how hard you work for your kids. You're doing a wonderful job." The words wrapped around Sarah like a comforting blanket. She beamed, a warmth spreading through her. But Mrs. Thompson's gaze turned serious. "You know, I went through tough times too. It was my community that lifted me. Don't hesitate to reach out if you ever need help." Right then, something shifted in Sarah. The shame she had felt about her struggles began to peel away. She had been so focused on fear that she couldn't see the support surrounding her. She realized the community could be her strength, not a judgment. After her shift, Sarah headed to the school. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the playground. Annie and Ethan raced toward her, their voices ringing with laughter, oblivious to the worries that had clouded her mind just hours before. It was moments like this that made all the labor worthwhile. "Guess what, Mom?" Annie exclaimed, her cheeks flushed with excitement. "We talked about our dreams in class today. I want to be an astronaut. And I want to be a dinosaur," Ethan declared, imitating a roar, his eyes dancing with imagination. Sarah knelt to embrace them, feeling the warmth of their love envelop her. They were her dreams too. Their ambitions ignited something fierce within her. "You both can be anything you want. Anything in the world." When they got home, Sarah found herself drawn back to the scholarship letter. With the kid snuggled up on the couch, she finally opened it again. This time, she read the words with new eyes. The scholarship wasn't just about her struggles. It was also a chance for Annie and Ethan to thrive. She envisioned them stepping into this opportunity, full of hope. But doubt still lurked in the back of her mind. As they settled into the evening, Sarah faced an uncharted territory in her heart. Could she truly accept this new direction in their lives? That night, she lay awake, listening to the soft breaths of her children. She turned the scholarship letter over and over, feeling the weight of possibility. But just as she began to find clarity, a soft knock interrupted her thoughts. Ethan peered into the room, eyes wide with curiosity. "Mom, is everything okay?" In that moment, Sarah realized her answer lay not just in her own heart, but in the eyes of her children. How could she show them to reach for the stars if she wasn't willing to step into the light herself? What is the next step? She whispered to herself, a new resolve forming. What lay ahead was uncertain, but she knew one thing. She needed to discover the truth about her own resilience before she could embrace this opportunity with both arms. As the shadows deepened around her, the light of a new dawn waited just beyond the horizon. And with that thought, pulsing anticipation filled the air. What awaited her in the days to come would either solidify this newfound strength or unravel her journey entirely. As dawn broke the next day, Sarah felt a flicker of determination stir within her. The sunlight streamed in, illuminating the scholarship letter still lying on the kitchen counter. She focused on its bold words, seeing more than just the struggles they represented. Today could be a turning point, a chance for her to show Annie and Ethan what it looked like to embrace your fears and chase your dreams. The kids were buzzing with anticipation as they rushed through their morning routine. Annie had decided to wear her blue dress, the one with the stars that reminded Sarah of the night sky. Ethan, meanwhile, was convinced that his dinosaur shirt would energize him for a big day ahead. Their excitement lit a fire deep within Sarah, making her realize how much she wanted to be that source of inspiration for them. "Okay," she declared, looking at their eager faces, "let us make today special. After school, we're going to the park, and then we'll have a picnic in the backyard." Both children erupted in cheers, and Sarah couldn't help but smile. There was a lightness to her spirit that she hadn't felt before. Maybe being brave meant not just taking chances for herself, but also creating joyful moments for her family. As she drove to the diner, she thought about how quickly her outlook had shifted overnight. Mrs. Thompson's words echoed in her mind, reminding her that community was there for her. Perhaps it was time to lean in more, forge connections, and find strength in the faces around her. At work, she approached her shift with renewed energy. The customers took notice, peppering her with smiles and kind words. Laughter mingled with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee as they shared bits of their lives with her, stories of summer vacations, triumphs, and the simple joys of everyday life. Despite the clatter of plates and the murmur of conversation, Sarah felt a greater sense of belonging than ever before. With each interaction, she caught glimpses of hope, a spark of collective resilience that seemed to resonate in the air. When she returned home that evening, the sun dipped low in the sky, casting a golden hue around the yard. The kids raced after her, and as they reached the grassy expanse, the world felt filled with promise. There it was again, the weight of her decision tugging at her heart. As the three of them laid out the picnic blanket, Sarah caught a glimpse of her children's happiness. This was her dream, to see them flourish and feel safe, even as uncertainty loomed on the horizon. She watched as they spun in joyous circles, laughter spilling out like a bubbling brook. Ethan plopped down, inhaling a sandwich before asking, "Mom, are you going to school like I want to be an astronaut?" A playful grin creased Sarah's face as she replied, "Maybe I will. I want to explore my own dreams just like you too." Annie tilted her head, her eyes wide with curiosity. "What do you want to be, Mom?" Sarah hesitated, heart racing at the profound implications of her words. "I want to be brave, and pursue something that makes me happy. Something that helps us all." That moment hung in the air like a quiet promise. These little ones were watching her, learning from her. Just then, her phone buzzed on the blanket. It was a text from Mrs. Thompson. "Can I come over tomorrow? I have something to share." Panic settled in for a moment. What could Mrs. Thompson want? Dread snaked through Sarah. But as she looked at Annie and Ethan, still lost in their giggles, she understood that whatever was coming could lead her further along this new path. There was a call to action simmering just beneath the surface. Sarah felt it magnify inside her, a distinct feeling of growth. What could this surprise mean? She took a deep breath, savoring the warm summer air, and sent a quick reply. "Of course. Looking forward to it." With anticipation pulsing in her veins, she realized that tomorrow could bring about real change. What would that surprise reveal? As night rolled in and stars twinkled above, excitement mingled with unease. Could she truly transform not just her life, but the lives of her children, based on the answers that awaited in the morning? The sun peeked through the curtains the next morning, spilling golden light across the room, gently stirring Sarah from sleep. She glanced at her phone, heart pounding at the thought of Mrs. Thompson's visit. Today felt heavy, like it was holding secrets just waiting to be uncovered. After the kids were fed and dressed, the air buzzed with a mix of anticipation and nerves. Annie twirled in her dress, and Ethan bounced from one foot to the other, unable to contain his excitement about their upcoming park adventure. Sarah couldn't help but smile at their innocence. "I think today is going to be amazing," Annie declared, tugging on her mom's hand. "Me too, sweetie," Sarah replied with a reassuring nod, though the weight of uncertainty hung in the back of her mind. As she drove to work, her focus drifted from the road to the text conversation flashing through her mind. Why was Mrs. Thompson coming over? Was it about the scholarship, a community project, or something even more personal? At the diner, the usual rhythm flowed amongst the clinking of dishes and the chatter of patrons. Yet, beneath the surface, Sarah felt a shift. This place, filled with warmth and laughter, had become more than just a job. It was her refuge. Each friendly interaction fanned the flames of hope sparking in her heart. Mrs. Thompson's words echoed again. Community and connection were important. Maybe today was about more than just her. As the afternoon wore on, the anticipation for Mrs. Thompson grew heavy in the air. When her shift finally ended, Sarah made her way home, her heart fluttering with nerves. The moment she stepped into the yard, she saw Mrs. Thompson sitting on the porch, her familiar presence sparking an unexpected sense of comfort. "Hello, dear." Mrs. Thompson's voice was warm, and her smile was inviting. "Hi, Mrs. Thompson." "I wasn't sure what to expect," Sarah admitted, her words spilling out a bit shakily. "I know how that can feel." Mrs. Thompson's eyes twinkled with kindness. "I have something to share with you. Something that I believe will bring you joy and hope." They settled down at the picnic table, where the remnants of Sarah's earlier picnic still lingered. "It may be a little unconventional," Mrs. Thompson started, pulling out a colorful folder from her bag. "But I thought about you when the community launched a program this year aimed at empowering single parents to achieve their educational dreams." Sarah's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice trembling with curiosity. "There's a scholarship opportunity, one that not only provides funds for school, but also mentoring for those starting to build their futures. I thought of you immediately because you have such passion, and I believe you could really inspire others as well." Tears prickled at Sarah's eyes, unexpected and powerful. "You really think I can do this?" "Absolutely. I've seen you thrive even in challenging moments," Mrs. Thompson replied, her voice steady. "You're a role model for your children and others. This could be the beginning of so much for you." As the reality of the offer washed over her, Sarah felt the air around her shimmer with possibility. For the first time, she envisioned a life where she chased her dreams, not just for herself but for her kids too. "Wow, Mrs. Thompson." "I don't know what to say," Sarah breathed, speechless. Just then, Annie and Ethan came running up the driveway, their energy electrifying the moment. The glimmer of hope now felt bright and alive, spreading warmth through Sarah's heart. The kids burst into giggles, and at that moment, she realized that this surprise was not just for her, but for them too. In the midst of the laughter, Sarah held the folder tightly, her mind racing with possibility. Would she take the leap? As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, the weight of that decision settled back in her chest. Would the courage to embrace this new opportunity transform their lives for the better? Sarah's breath caught as she looked at Mrs. Thompson, her heart pounding with excitement and fear. What would she choose? And as she watched Annie and Ethan play, the question lingered in the air. Was she ready to take the first step into a new chapter of their lives together? The next morning dawned, draped in a gentle calm as Sarah woke to the sound of birds chirping outside. Sunlight streamed through her window, illuminating the room like a promise. Yet, excitement wrestled with anxiety in her chest. The scholarship. It felt like an invisible thread, pulling at her resolve, whispering of futures unseen. After preparing breakfast, she watched as Annie and Ethan chatted animatedly about their plans for the day. Their laughter rang like music, grounding her even as her mind danced with uncertainty. "What is on the agenda today, Mom?" Ethan asked, his blue eyes sparkling with mischief. "Just a little picnic at the park," Sarah replied, forcing a smile. "And maybe a trip to the library later?" "Yay! Books!" Annie squealed, jumping up and down in her chair. Sarah's heart swelled. Her children were her heartbeat, their dreams intertwined with her own. But could she really step forward? She recalled Mrs. Thompson's kind words, the belief and inspiration that flowed from her. It ignited a flicker of hope, but doubt tainted it like shadows in the light. As they packed sandwiches and snacks into a cooler, she felt the weight of that colorful folder in her bag. What if I fail? What if I can't do this? Each thought nested like stones in her stomach, heavy and cold. But just as quickly, a counter-thought emerged. What if I succeed? What if I change their lives? They arrived at the park, and Sarah's heart warmed at the sight of families playing, children darting across the grass. It was a canvas of life, vibrant and full of possibilities. She spread out the blanket, setting the stage for a perfect afternoon. "Let us eat first," Sarah said cheerfully, and soon they were surrounded by a feast of fruit and sandwiches. The children giggled between bites, their little faces smeared with jelly and smiles. As laughter echoed around her, Sarah's heart ached. This joy could be more than a fleeting moment. Could she forge a better life for all of them? The thought sent tingles of inspiration through her. But could she trust herself to strive for it? After lunch, as they wandered through the park, they stumbled upon a community event showcasing local talent. Artists painted, musicians strummed cheerful tunes, and children explored crafts. "Look, Mom! Can I try that?" Annie pointed to a table where kids were twisting balloons into shapes. "Yes, let us do it together," Sarah exclaimed, the joy bubbling in her chest. As they crafted silly balloon animals, Sarah met other parents. Conversations flowed freely, filled with laughter, sharing stories of struggles and triumphs. She felt a part of something greater, a community. In that moment, as she watched her children tie their creations, she began to nurture the thought that maybe stepping into the scholarship program wouldn't just be about her. It was about investing in their future, building a legacy of resilience. Later, they found a quiet spot under a sprawling oak tree. As the sun dipped low, painting the sky with soft pastels, Sarah finally opened the folder that Mrs. Thompson had given her. Inside were details about the scholarship, testimonials from others who had benefited. It felt alive, brimming with hope. "This could be our start," Sarah whispered to herself, feeling the cool breeze wrap around her like a protective hug. That is when Annie snuggled up next to her, curiosity gleaming in her eyes. "What is in there, Mom?" Taking a deep breath, Sarah hesitated, a heartbeat teetering on the edge of revealing her dreams. "It's a chance for us to reach for something big. Something wonderful." Ethan interrupted, tugging at her pants. "Does that mean you'll chase your dreams like a superhero?" A smile broke across Sarah's face, clear and bright. "Exactly like a superhero," she replied, heart racing at the thought. The journey ahead was uncertain, but she felt a swell of courage rising within. What awaited them was a leap into uncharted waters, a chance to be the hero of their own story. And just as she was about to share more with her kids, a thought struck her like a bolt of lightning. What if all she needed to do was start believing in herself? As the last rays of sun faded into the horizon, the possibilities shimmered like stars igniting the night sky. What if the scholarship was just the beginning of their new adventure? Would she find the strength to ignite that spark? The questions hung in the evening air, stirring her heart once more as she faced the unknown. What awaited them beyond this moment? The next morning, Sarah woke up to a soft patter of rain against her window. It was soothing, like a comforting lullaby that chased away the remnants of yesterday's worries. She curled up under the blankets, knowing she had a choice to make. Today was the day she would reveal her plans to Annie and Ethan. After breakfast, they gathered in the living room. The rain drummed a steady beat, creating a cozy atmosphere. Sarah took a deep breath, her heart hammering. "Kids," she started, her voice shaking slightly, "I have something important to share." Annie's eyes widened, and Ethan leaned forward, sensing the seriousness in her tone. "Is it about the picnics?" Annie asked, bouncing on the couch. "No, sweetheart. It's about something else." Sarah smiled, the joy and anxiety swirling within her. "Remember that folder I showed you yesterday? It's about a scholarship program I want to apply for. It could help me get back to school." The silence that followed felt heavy, like waiting for a storm to pass. And then Ethan spoke, his innocent curiosity shining through. "What would you study, Mom?" "Reading, writing, all the things that could help me get a better job. And make sure we're okay. You know I want to help you both have the best future, right?" The words flowed out, each one lighting a flame of hope within her. Annie bit her lip, her little brow furrowing with thought. "But Mom, what if you win? Will that mean we have to move or something?" "No, honey," Sarah reassured her quickly. "This is about me learning and growing. It means I could be more present for you too. So we can all have a better life together." They sat in silence again. Sarah noticed the wheels turning in their heads, their faces marked by a mixture of understanding and concern. Then, with a sudden burst of enthusiasm, Ethan jumped up, clenching his fists in excitement. "You have to go for it. You'll be our superhero for real." Annie cheered, "Yes, Mom. Like in the stories we read? You can change the world." The warmth spreading through Sarah was unlike anything she had felt before. They saw her as a superhero. She thought of all the stories that had shaped their childhood, the way heroes always persevered against all odds. Could she really do the same? "Okay," she nodded, feeling an electric surge of determination. "I'll get started today. I promise to do my best." As she gathered the papers from the folder, Sarah felt a profound shift within. The weight of her doubts began to lift like the clouds outside. That S when a loud bang echoed from the kitchen, the sound of a pot crashing to the floor. "Mom, what was that?" Ethan exclaimed, running to check on the source of the commotion. They discovered that the cat had knocked over an empty pot. Relief washed over Sarah as they began to laugh. In that moment, she realized how closely joy and chaos were intertwined in their home. "See? Even the cat wants to cheer you on," Ethan said, giggling as Annie joined in, her laughter infectious. They all collapsed onto the floor in a heap of joy, their giggles dissolving the morning's tension. It felt so good, so right. Suddenly Sarah's phone buzzed, breaking through their playfulness. Hesitating, she picked it up and saw it was a message from Mrs. Thompson reminding her about the scholarship meeting later that week. Her heart raced at the thought. This was her moment to step into the unknown. As they settled back onto the couch, Sarah shared her excitement, her voice trembling with enthusiasm. "I can't wait to tell Mrs. Thompson about you both cheering me on. This is going to be the start of something amazing." But before she could finish, Annie, with her little hand on Sarah's knee, looked up with wide eyes. "What if we come with you? We can cheer for you the whole time." A wave of warmth enveloped Sarah. The idea sparked a new kind of excitement. The thought of her children beside her, as she chased her dreams, made her heart swell. They would be a team. As the rain began to slow, the promise of a brighter day shone through the clouds, a perfect parallel to the hope rising within her. But the anticipation of the scholarship meeting loomed just ahead, and her mind buzzed with how her life could change. Would this be the moment everything turned around for them? Would they really take this leap together? The feeling clung to her as she embraced her children's enthusiasm, uncertainty still swaying like a pendulum between her heart and the dream she dared to dream. Tomorrow would test their resolve. What surprises lay hidden in that scholarship meeting? The next day dawned bright and clear, a stark contrast to the rainy comfort of yesterday. As Sarah poured herself a cup of coffee, the sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, illuminating the stacks of papers on the table. Each page represented a step toward a new beginning, and she felt a mix of fear and excitement. Ethan and Annie bustled around her, gearing up for school. The house was filled with the sounds of preparation, the rustle of backpacks, the thud of shoes being tied, and laughter echoing as Annie showed Ethan a dance move. They were a whirlwind of energy, and Sarah watched, her heart swelling with pride. "Remember," she called out, "you both are my good luck charms today." Ethan turned, his face lighting up. "And you're our superhero, Mom." The familiar sense of warmth washed over her again as they exchanged encouraging smiles. Soon, the kids were off, their laughter fading into the distance, leaving Sarah standing in the kitchen alone. She glanced at the clock. Time was racing, and she still hadn't fully prepared herself for the scholarship meeting. Her mind raced with thoughts of what lay ahead. What if she stumbled over her words? What if she got rejected? The fear felt suffocating. Taking a deep breath, Sarah sat down at the table, her hands trembling as she leafed through the application papers one more time. She needed this. Each word represented her hopes and ambitions for a better future, not just for herself, but for her children. The thought of them having a stronger, more secure life kept her going. Just then, her phone buzzed. A message from Mrs. Thompson appeared, wishing her luck and reminding her of the importance of this moment. Her encouragement wrapped around Sarah like a warm blanket, nudging her nerves aside. Later that morning, she took a deep breath, dressed in her best outfit, and stood before the mirror. The reflection staring back at her seemed more alive, more determined. She was ready to face the world. As the clock ticked closer to noon, Sarah found herself driving toward the community center. The sun was bright, and for the first time in a while, she felt like she was on the path to something great. With every turn, the butterflies in her stomach transformed into birds soaring through the sky. Upon arriving, she noticed a crowd buzzing with ambition. Women and men alike were gathered, chatting excitedly. The atmosphere was charged with an electricity that sent shivers of possibility coursing through her. She joined the queue, her heart racing, a sense of disbelief washing over her. Did she really belong here? She was just a young mom trying to make a better life, not someone destined for greatness. But as she entered the room, the sight of the committee members at their desks instilled a rush of confidence. They held her dreams, her future, in their hands. Just then, as she started to introduce herself, Sarah raised her chin, and the ground beneath her feet felt solid. She had something valuable to share. As she began speaking, addressing her ambition and plans with genuine passion, she noticed a few heads nodding. They seemed to respond not just to her words, but to the spirit behind them. The flicker of hope ignited within her once more, and as she closed her eyes for a brief moment, a vision of her and the kids celebrating triumph together filled her heart with warmth. But as she finished her pitch and caught her breath, a voice from the back of the room rang out, cutting through her moment of joy. "And what if you don't get it, Sarah?" The voice belonged to someone with an intimidating presence. Doubt clouded the initial excitement, and Sarah's heart sank. What if he was right? What if this was all just a dream, destined to break apart in her hands? Did that voice represent the fears that gnawed at her? Or could it be an unexpected chance for growth, a shake-up to show her how much she was willing to fight for this? "Focus on the light," she whispered to herself, but the question lingered in her mind like a shadow. Would she truly have the strength to see this through? The tension hung in the air like a heavy curtain. Sarah glanced around at the faces staring back at her, some uncertain, some filled with sympathy. She could feel a heat rising in her cheeks, a mix of embarrassment and determination. It was all too easy to let that voice of doubt take control, to let it seep into her thoughts like a slow poison. But she was about to give in. "Every journey starts with a single step," she replied, forcing her voice to steady. "And I'm here because I want to take that step for my kids and for myself. I owe it to them." The room stirred, a few murmurs breaking out. The committee members exchanged glances, their expressions shifting from skepticism to curiosity, and Sarah felt her confidence inching back. She had made her choice. She was going to fight, teeth gritted and fists raised, ready to tackle whatever came next. But the man who had questioned her wasn't finished. "This isn't just a game, Sarah. You need to think practically. You've got kids to raise." Pain sliced through her for a moment, his words striking a hollow chord. He didn't understand her what it meant to strive. Yet here she stood, wishing more than anything he could see the glimmer of hope she held for her family. "I know it's not a game," she said, grounding herself in that reality. "I see it every day in their eyes, their need for a little hope and a lot more opportunities. That's what this scholarship means to us." There was silence now, a fragile space where her heart pounded, echoing in her ears. Could she turn this moment back around? Could she change their minds? "Imagine this," she continued, her heart racing as the words poured out. "Imagine a life where my kids don't have to worry about just surviving. A life where they can chase their dreams without fear. That's my dream too, just as important, perhaps even more than my own." A young woman sitting near the front nodded, her face softening. Reading the hopeful determination in Sarah's eyes seemed to change something in the atmosphere. It brought a bit of energy back into the room. "Thank you for sharing your passion," one of the committee members spoke up, softer this time. "It's clear how much you care for your children. Why don't you tell us a little more about your plans? What will you do if you get the scholarship?" Taking a quick breath, Sarah squared her shoulders. This was the opening she needed. "If I get this opportunity, I want to pursue social work. I want to work with families, like mine, families that struggle and feel broken. I want to show them that there is a way out, just like I hope to find one for my kids." The room began to shift as the members started nodding again, encouraged by her story, by her vision for the future. In that moment, solemn realism turned into a newfound resolve. "Maybe I won't win today," she realized, "but I'll keep fighting. For them." As Sarah wrapped up, and the committee members assured her that they had more considerations to make, she felt lighter. Every word she spoke had come from the heart, and in doing so, she had broken through the walls that had kept her from believing in herself. Just as she was stepping away to leave the room, a committee member leaned in. "Before you go, I want to ask something. Would you be open to sharing your journey with our organization? Many people could benefit from your story." There it was, a door opening, just when she needed it most. A chance to inspire others. With a smile barely cresting her lips, Sarah considered the roads ahead. What lay beyond that door? Someone in the audience just might need to hear her story, but would she be brave enough to share it, even if it meant exposing her greatest fears? As Sarah walked out of the room, the weight of her words lingered in the air, pulsing with an electricity she had never felt before. The scent of stale coffee and old paperwork faded as she stepped into the hallway, replaced by fresh, cool air seeping in through an open window nearby. Her heart raced as she replayed the committee's encouraging nods in her mind. Maybe they believed in her. Maybe even if just a little they understood the urgency of her fight. But the real challenge lay ahead. Would she be able to share her journey honestly? With each step, she framed her response in her mind. "Yeah, I'm ready to tell my story." But just as quickly, doubt crept back in. What if her past wasn't inspirational enough? What if no one was interested? She let out a breath, willing the anxiety to evaporate like the morning mist. As she descended the steps to the parking lot, her thoughts were interrupted by a familiar voice. Sarah. It was Karen, an old friend. I saw you in there. You were amazing. Sarah's chest swelled at the praise, yet it was tinged with fear. I really hope they think so, she replied, trying to hide the wobble in her voice. I mean, what if I don't win? And if you don't? Karen countered, her eyes shining with warmth. You're still doing something incredible. You're fighting for your kids. And that's already a win in my book. A smile broke through Sarah's apprehension. Karen always had a knack for lifting her spirits. Thanks. I just wanted to be strong for them. Being strong means being real too, you know? Karen offered. It's okay to show them you're human. They stood there for a moment, their gaze fixed on the pavement, both lost in their own thoughts. Eventually, Sarah nodded. You're right. I want to tell my story. I think it could help others, even if I feel scared inside. Then do it. Karen's enthusiasm was infectious. You have nothing to lose. Just think of those families out there who might feel alone. You could inspire them. With each word, Sarah started to feel that impossible weight lifting. It was replaced with a new intensity, the shimmering possibility of connecting with someone else out there. Someone waiting for hope. I'll do it, she clarified, her voice firming up. I will share my journey. The two women hugged tightly, the embrace becoming a tight knot of support and shared dreams. As Sarah drove home, a sense of clarity filled her mind. She could picture herself standing in front of a group of people, sharing her truth, her struggles, her fears, and ultimately, her perseverance. It felt daunting, yet invigorating at the same time. Yet a troubling thought gnawed at her, a flash of something darker edged into the frame. What if she opened up about her struggles, and it didn't resonate? What if it pushed people away instead of drawing them in? Arriving at their small home, the laughter of her kids spilled out like music, wrapping around her. They needed her. As she entered, the familiar chaos of their daily lives made her heart swell further. Mom, you're back, her daughter shouted, rushing into her arms. The warmth of that hug melted away doubt, even if just for a moment. But as she tucked her kids into bed later that night, a thought remained, a promise of sorts held close. What if this was just the beginning of something more? What if sharing her story could change lives, maybe even her own? And just when she was about to close her eyes, her phone buzzed, a message from the committee asking her to prepare a brief speech about what she wanted to share about her journey. The stakes were rising. What would she say? As the dawn broke on the day Sarah had been waiting for, she felt a surge of emotions dance within her. Today was not just another day. It was the day she would stand up and share her story. The sun poured through the window, warming the kitchen and lighting a fire in her spirit. After breakfast, with the kids happily engrossed in cartoons, she took a moment for herself. The colorful folder of scholarship materials lay open on the table, reminders of her aspirations, and the very real chance to ignite change in her life and her children's. This was her moment of truth, a moment she had to seize. All right, you got this, she whispered to herself, squeezing the edges of the folder tightly. With newfound determination, she began to gather her thoughts, jotting down key points she believed would resonate with others. Her past, her struggles, and her dreams all needed to flow together like a well-rehearsed melody. Later, as the hour approached, Sarah slipped into her jacket and gave her children a reassuring hug. I'll be back before dinner, she promised, feeling the weight of their hopeful eyes on her. It was time to get to the community center again. Arriving at the venue, her heart raced. Familiar faces from the previous meeting greeted her, and she sensed an air of camaraderie and support that enveloped her like a comforting shawl. The committee was already seated, ready to listen. She could almost hear the chorus of encouragement in her head. You can do this. When her turn came, Sarah stepped to the front, her heart pounding like a drum. She took a deep breath, grounding herself in the present moment. Hello, everyone. I'm Sarah, she began, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. There was a time when I felt invisible, she shared, recalling the hesitation that had held her back. I wasn't just struggling to make ends meet. I was struggling with my own self-worth. As a single mother, I often thought that my story was one of failure, of hardship. A gasp echoed from the audience, but she pressed on. Then, something changed. It all started with my kids. Their laughter, their dreams, everything I do is for them. Finding that scholarship was like finding a flicker of hope amidst darkness. And it made me realize that I needed to share my journey, not just for myself but for them, and for others like us. My fear was stronger than my hope. Sarah's courage grew with each word. She painted a picture of resilience, speaking candidly about the challenges she faced. The struggles, yes, they were real. But so was the community that stood behind her, urging her forward. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know this: change is possible. With support and love, we can overcome our obstacles. I want my children to see me fight for our dreams, so they too will have the courage to pursue theirs. When she finished, a moment of stillness followed, and tears welled in the eyes of some in the audience. She felt herself tremble, not with fear, but with an overwhelming sense of connection and shared understanding. The applause that followed felt like a warm shower of affirmation. As she stepped away from the podium, tears of relief streamed down her cheeks. Maybe she had done it. Maybe she had created a ripple that could inspire change not just in her life, but in the lives of many others. In the days that followed, Sarah became involved with the scholarship program, building connections and sharing her story with others. People came to her for advice, mothers shared their struggles, and friendships blossomed in unexpected ways. Her children thrived seeing her engaged with the community, their smiles beaming brighter each day. They started dreaming big, not just about astronauts and dinosaurs, but about futures filled with endless possibilities. As for Sarah, she started her classes that spring, embracing every challenge and lesson that came her way. The scholarship had opened doors she never thought possible, rekindling her hope and lighting a path for her family. One afternoon, while driving back home, she turned on the radio and heard a song that reminded her of her journey. From struggle comes strength, the lyrics resonated in her heart. Pulling into the driveway, she glanced back at her children playing in the yard, chased by golden rays of sunlight. She couldn't wait to share all the new dreams and plans she had with them. This was about more than just her story. It was about creating a legacy, a message about resilience, hope, and the journey to become who we truly are. As Sarah entered the house, laughter and joy filled the air. "Hey, can we talk about the next step in our dreams?" she called out, her voice ringing with enthusiasm. In that simple moment, she knew their lives were already transformed in ways they would forever cherish. This was only the beginning. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support makes a huge difference. Comment below your thoughts and feelings about this emotional ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support matters to us.